Hey, everybody. All right. So here is your report on Gate 57, which we are moving into today, which is October 9th. So this is the gate of intuition, as it is referred to in human design. And even in the gene keys, it's an intuition gate. And actually in quantum human design as well, it's intuition. In the I Ching, it's the gate of the gentle wind. And so let's take a second and kind of break it down and look at all the different pieces of that, and then how that might be embodied for you as that energy is active right now in the collective. So intuition, first of all, it's in the splenic center. And so the splenic center is one of our original energy centers. It's primal energy. It's this primal instinct. It's this inner knowing, this immediate and energetic knowing. So when someone has this gate active, when they walk into a room, they have this energetic read of the room. They know what's going on instinctually. And then that information is communicated in different ways in our bodies, but for the most part, it's an energetic template of intuition. It's an inner knowing. And so when we are working with intuition is a path. As we really begin to unfold on our personal journey, one of the first steps of that personal journey is really our relationship to trusting ourselves. So we find ourselves in this gate, in this Libra season, as when we're looking at the zodiac, which is really falls right in the middle of the earth energy. And actually not right in the middle, it is right in the middle of earth energy. And so in the five elements work. Now, if you follow some of what I've been talking about, earth is our guardian archetype, and earth itself is really about going inward into ourselves, finding our inner garden, our inner nurturer, our ability to really know who we are and know who we are not, our ability to take in the world around us, to digest it, to understand it, to move it into a place of what do we need to feel nurtured? What do we need to feel nourishment? What do we need for that self-care component of things? But also it's stewardship. It's stewardship of the earth. It's taking care of the earth. So it's the gardener and the garden at the same time. It's remember that earth comes after fire. So the summer of which is associated with summer. So fire is associated with that summertime. We've had all of this blossoming. And so earth is really this time of we begin to reap the awards of all that blossoming. We're taking it in. We're going and we're starting the journey inward. And we're going to take in this abundance of the world around us, all of the thoughts and the things, and we're going to go inward with that information. I keep saying that inward because that's really the path of intuition. It takes us into the body, right? And that's what this gate really wants to highlight, is our ability to use the path of our own intuition as the light of how we need to move through the world. Not confusing our own intuition for the truth of someone else, right? So our intuition is true for us. When we learn to listen, it's quiet, it's subtle, it's a soft, it's a very soft energy. It's actually yi energy in Chinese medicine, and so it's like it's this gentle energy, right? And so it's this gentle path inward, and when we allow our intuition, when we get quiet, so the intuition it speaks softly. It doesn't need to yell at us. It has a soft and gentle way about it. And it gently guides us along our journey if we listen right now. So we can easily overcompensate. We can go into the mind. The shadow side of it is letting the mind override our intuition, especially worry. And we'll look at that relationship in a minute. One of the shadow emotions of earth energy is worry, where we get into our mind, where we worry about things. And we see the direct correlation to that in this gate as we look at the fears. So we know that the gift of it is intuition, the ability to be quiet and listen to this whisper of our body to guide us along our path. And so what that requires of us is trust. It requires that we trust in ourselves. We trust in the sound of that little whisper that comes from inside of us and knows what it needs to know. It doesn't usually repeat itself. They often say, if you are a splenic authority in human design, that it's a one-time thing. You get this one little whisper of a turn left. And if you didn't turn left, then you have a little journey to figure out what was on the right side, and that maybe next time you'll listen and turn left, right? So it's like, it's like that constant guardian that told you what you needed, was totally patient with you while you didn't listen, and then was still there smiling with an open hug when you came back around and was like, oh wait, I should have listened when you said go left. So it's like, with no judgments, right? That's that gentle leadership of the intuition. So when we get into the shadow of this energy, we really get into the shadow of our ability to quiet. In Richard Rudd's work, he talks about the shadow of unease, that when we actually get quiet, when we get really still, and this is one of the challenges that I hear all the time with my clients around meditation, is that when we actually do get still, there's this like baseline unease. And that unease is really representative of this deeper fear of like, ooh, if I get too still, I'll have to look at my shit. That's kind of what it's really saying. I'll have to look at my shit. And I don't want to look at my shit. I've been doing all this stuff to avoid looking at my shit. So why would I slow down enough to look at it now? But when we really do slow down, when we really do get quiet. Now I want to say here with meditation that a lot of people, when I first have my clients start meditating, they get really frustrated. They're like, I can't quiet my mind. And I want to be clear, the mind's job is not to quiet. Like if our minds are quiet, we're probably dead. So I'm not looking, well, that's not true. The mind is always active, right? Y'all? Because it's running the body. Like there's this correlation to even breathing, right? The mind can't be totally quiet. But the more we meditate, the more we try to meditate, right? Like it's a practice of meditation, and it's really about coming back to your breath. It's about recognizing that you are not your thought, you are not your emotion. So the thought, you're quietly sitting there and you're thinking about, you're finding your breath, and then your mind starts to think about like, oh, the book I was reading this morning and that passage I saw, and then this handbag that I think I can't find, and it starts to go, right? Like it'll have all these neural connections doing things. With meditation, the goal is not to override the thought or to resist the thought. It's more to notice if you've followed the thought down the sidewalk and then come back to your breath. Now, I know that you might already know that, but it's interesting how many people think they can't meditate because they can't quiet their mind. And that's not the goal. The goal is to notice when your mind is busy and come back to this gentle space, this quietness, right? Now, it can be hard for us to come back to this quietness because we might be avoiding it, because in the quietness, in that space in between, that's really where we're going to meet the inner journey of our shadow work, right? What we're here to reveal and align and heal in this lifetime. And we are often very good at avoiding just that, right? And so that is the shadow side of this gate, is this like deep unease. That's primal. It's karmic, if you believe in karma. And even in the ancient masters, they talk about this, the sanskaras, these like, these encoded fear systems that we're here to get quiet with, and in a gentle way, start to unwind these deep encoded fears. And in this case, it's the fear of the unknown, right? And so we do a lot of work trying to know what's coming, trying to plan. And so again, when our mind goes into the wanting to know, this is where we get into that earth imbalance around worry. Like I'm going to worry myself into, I don't know, What could be different? If you worry, really worry doesn't get you anywhere. But the idea that you shouldn't worry just creates more stress for worriers, right? Like if you're someone who worries in the first place, and then everybody says, well, what is that doing for you? Right? Like you just go into the shame spiral. Like, I know I shouldn't worry, but I can't stop worrying. Similar to meditation, it's not about stopping worrying. It's about recognizing that worry is your mind, you're following the mind, the thoughts down the path. And this gate reminds you to acknowledge the thoughts and then come back to that heart center, come back inward, come deeper. And it's this gentle energy. And so it's in the I Ching, like I mentioned, is wood energy. And it's wind and the roots of wood. So the gentleness of wood can have a very harsh and big energy as well, but this is the gentle side of wood. It's wind and root. And it's this pervasive, consistent energy. Like if you think about the wind moving through the tunnels, like this, it can get through to places, and the roots can like break things up. And it's like this slow and gentle erosion of the patterns until you kind of get into the root issue, like where you get really down in there. That's what this energy allows us to do, is like it's going to gently take us through consistent experiences, through whatever pathway we need in order to eventually get to the root, to this root fear of being separated. So at this core, the fear of the unknown is really this primal fear of death and separation, right? So we get all the way down. There's like this conception energy to this, all the way down to this moment of like the breaking of the wholeness. So when we look at the yin yang, there is the one energy of the chi. There's the one energy, and then as we materialize as humans in this physical realm, there's this breaking from oneness into two, into polarity. And so the fear of that separation, this primal encoded fear of that separation, is really at the very root. It's just like this little gate, has no biggie, just this entire coding for the fear of separation from source, right? But the journey back to yourself, the journey that when we spiral through and we gently follow our intuition, we gently follow ourselves back inside and back inside and back inside, there's this flash of insight, right? This aha moment, that creates clarity. And that's the gift of this gate, is clarity. It's like, can I follow my intuition to where it shows me the thing that was the scariest thing for me to look at? But in looking at it, I have this new perspective. I have this shift in consciousness, this aha moment that allows me to have this clarity, this realignment with source. One of the things that my Reverend at Unity of the Blue Ridge, Reverend Darlene, says all the time is that we can never be separated from source, but we can think ourselves apart. And that really is relevant in this gate, right? Like all the places where we've thought ourselves away from this inner knowing, this inner guidance, this inner alignment with source that is our intuition, that requires that we settle the mind, that we practice quieting the mind, that we practice grounding. That earth energy is a lot about grounding, right? It's this time of gratitude and we're going into a yin time. So there's this pulling energy towards earth. It's like the roots, the bounty starts to pull back. It falls back to the earth. We're not quite in the metal energy of the decomposition of that, right? We're still collecting the harvest, and we're still being grateful for that, but we're beginning to slow it down. We're beginning to come back to this earth, back to this center, back to this. My true core nurturing comes from my centering. And so that's really what this gate is asking of us, is that when things are feeling worrisome or feeling when we're getting into that unease, that primal unease, it's like I can take a breath with trust. Like, ooh, you know what? I don't have to know because I can trust my intuition to guide me along my journey. Now, I want to talk about, I can't remember if I've said this already, but intuition it's a personal path, right? So it's my intuition guides me. My intuition does not guide other people. It's not for other people, and their intuition is not for me. So some of the shadow of this gate is also about relationships and persuasion and trying to persuade people that what we believe is right for us is right for all people, and that's not true. Our intuition is a personal path. It is not to be confused with truth. Everyone's truth is their own relative truth. And so this gate also sits in this Libra time around relationships, around how much of our relationships would be so much easier if we just weren't trying to convince the other person that we're right or that what we know is right, right? What if we could really get bigger than that and see that it might not be right for them? Our path is only right for us. And so we really, there's also the secondary shadow energy in relationship, right? And we see that now in the channels. So like if you have this gate, then there are 3 channels that are attached to this gate. Like I said, it connects to the sacral, it connects to the heart, and it connects to the throat. And so through those different ways that it might be activated, it's really about our ability to know what we need to do, to know divine timing. So through that sacral, it's knowing when it's time to do something and being able to move forward and do it. Through the heart, it's knowing, I was thinking about the throat. So it's knowing what you need to know without blurting it out, right? It's like, can you hold it until someone asks? That's the throat chakra. Always with the throat chakra, with the manifestation energy, it's like, can you wait till somebody asks for it in some kind of way? Divine timing of knowing when to say it. And then with the heart, it's really about, it goes to that 10 gate, which is the gate of self-love. So this is that gate of like not trying to persuade, right? Like we're not trying to persuade people or but there's this inner knowing of who we are and what we need, right? And so those are 3 different channels that might be being activated by this gate. You might have one of those 3, the 34, the 20, or the 10, or you might have gate 57. It might be hanging to some of those others, right? So, or you might have some of the channels. And so I just wanted to kind of point that out for you. If you have this gate, or if you have one of those other ones, then it's right now. If you have the 34, the 20, or the 10, then now is a time this week that you have access to the whole channel. And so it's really amplifies the gifts of this time, which is really the gift of intuition and clarity and knowing about divine timing and knowing about not needing to persuade everyone and knowing when it's time to speak your full truth and when it's time to wait to be asked for that. So I think that's probably enough about this gate. I think you probably have it at this point. So I will be back. So on Friday, we have a lunar eclipse and in a different gate. So I'll be breaking that down for you later this week. And as always, leave a comment below. Let me know how this is playing out for you. Please share, and we'll see you soon.